Hello everyone. Today we're going to be speaking about these little ones here. The lighting is horrible in here, so I'm going to take these guys outside and talk a little bit about these guys and answer a couple of questions that people may have regarding these animals. Before that, tomorrow I'm going to be cleaning everything out. So I'm going to show you guys all of them at one time. That'll be my first time showing them all at once since I think the second day when they start hatching. So I'm going to take them all out, give them a little soak put a little water in this tub, soak them in some natural sunlight while I clean the rest of the cages. But before we get into the dragons, I do want to answer some other questions. Everything's going to be getting cleaned tomorrow, so my Uromatics, they're growing very well. Getting nice and big. They're starting to go through their first shed. You see they're still friendly. Still come out to greet me. It's like they wait for me to knock on the door. Open the door or something. They come out here and just check everything out. So curious, no fear. So go ahead and put them back in. I just wanted to. Someone asked me, is it hard to how do you breed your Uromatics? So I'm gonna go ahead and answer that question. Yes, this year was my first year ever producing them. I bought these guys in, I think, October, the pair that produced these. I believe it was August. We had a reptile show here, and I bought a male and a female wild caught. So for me to be able to produce it was a long shot, because most of the times they don't breed once they when they first get into captivity. So I have no real experience in producing them besides just being my first year. So I would say getting captive bred will be easier to produce them because they're used to being in captivity, so they don't have to get used to new surroundings or anything like that, because they'll be fearless pretty much like these guys. And but if you happen to get wild caught, I would say get them in a big enclosure with plenty of places to hide, and don't bother them, just feed them. Keep the male and female together, but you got to give them enough space so they can get away from each other, because they sometimes do fight. So first thing is get a male and a female. Be sure that they're male or female, because a lot of Uromatic species is hard to sex. And let's go over here and see if any of the adults are out. Yeah, they're hard to sex. Most of the species are hard to differentiate the male and the female. So the first thing is be sure that you have a male and a female. Get them adequate space. This cage is 7 foot long for a lizard that only get about 12 inches. So that's plenty of space. That's my male right now. That's the father to the babies, and that's the female. Well, that's the parents right there of those babies. So first thing is be sure you have a male and female. Get them adequate space. Make sure that they're eating well, and that's about it. Let nature take its course. You just have to provide the place for them to live, some good amount of food, and I think giving them good hiding spots is another thing to give them comfort in being where they're at. I have my lay box hidden in here, in this little area right here. So Yeah, it wasn't that difficult for me, but there was some big breeders that didn't produce this year. So you got to do your due diligence to give everything they need: proper lighting, proper heat, proper space, good amount of food variety, and time. Just be patient. Don't bother them. I don't plan on holding these guys besides taking them out of the cage to clean whenever I gotta clean. Like right now, the cage is pretty dirty. Um, but it doesn't smell or anything like that. Most of that what you see is dried up greens, which is not gonna do anything to them. And so caging, lighting, food, patience. Don't feel that you have to hold these guys because they're your pets. Just look at these guys, and then once they produce, if you have the wild calls, once they produce, you can handle the babies. As you can see how friendly those babies were. Those ones are gonna be more like the pets. These ones are wild caught, so they're not used to being handled. They are getting better. Usually, if I even touch the glass or anything like that, they'll shoot away, or if they see me. But they're getting a lot better. He even eats from my hand now. Sometimes a female will as well, depending on the day. See, he's a little fussy. But usually I couldn't even get that close. So with time, they do get like used to your presence. But they're wild caught, so they will never be like the captive breds in most cases. So if you can find captive bred, it'll be better for breeding because you don't have to go through that little period of getting them used to everything. So all my first sets are wild caught. This is another pair. That's the female right there. She's under the rock. And this is the male right here hanging out by the camera. She laid 4 eggs for me, but those eggs went bad. And I hear a lot of people have that too. You get the eggs, and for some reason, that first time breeding in captivity, those eggs go bad, even though they're fertile, clearly fertile. So I don't know what's going on with that. I'm still learning a lot. Hopefully what I just told you answers your question if you watch this video. That's pretty much all I can say. I'm gonna go over it one more time. Everything that I think that you need is big caging. See how big that cage is? That's another 7-footer. That's a 7-footer. That's a 7-footer. These smaller cages are little grow outs. And these were animals that didn't do well in the big cages and they needed a tighter space. So I put them in these smaller spaces and they started thriving. Some people think that animals always need big spaces, but sometimes when you put them in a big space, they feel insecure and won't eat. So if you see other people with animals in smaller cages, sometimes there's a reason for that, so don't jump on them. I can clearly put these in the bigger cage. It don't take me nothing to build another cage right here, which I am going to be building in the future. But right now, I don't need it. These guys are still growing up. So, and they're eating well. They pooping well. They're very active. They're not glass surfing. So, yeah, Stitch is out right now. My daughter, Stitch is the new dragon that I got, the new male. My daughter stole her from me. She claimed him as her own. Here's a little clip of her that she did on her little TikTok.
He was waiting for me. I love you, Stitch. Let me get you out. Got you out. Let's go in the house. I love my lizard and so does he.
But yeah, that's all I can say for breeding here in Mastics. Like I said, I only bred them. Well, I bred 2, but I only successfully hatched 9 eggs for the first time ever. So I don't have all the knowledge on breeding them, but I could just tell you what worked for me and what I believe are the keys to me being successful with that one pairing. So yeah, hopefully that answered your question. So let's go back over here. We're gonna get these babies. We're gonna go outside and talk about another question that I had. well, a bunch of questions that I had. Pretty much the same question about availability, prices, and stuff like that. So bear with me. I'm gonna go outside so we can get a better look at these guys. Alright guys, we made it outside. So we can discuss these other questions that I had. I'm getting a lot of requests for pricing and availability. So first off, these guys will be available mid-September when they're approximately 2 months of age. That gives me enough time to make sure that they're growing properly, that they're eating properly, and that they're ready to be going to a new home. And as far as pricing, pricing is going to vary as much as you can see in the colors in here. So prices are always going to be different depending on what they are, even if they're the same morph. See this one right here? This is a Hypo Zero, which is I'm getting most of the requests about. That's actually a Hypo Zero. That's a Hypo Zero. And this one is a Hypo Zero. So the difference in price could be as simple as one being a boy and one being a girl. Okay, so this right here, just a plain zero. So people ask for zero prices, but I got 4 different types of zeros right here. That's just a regular zero. So that's going to be pretty much the starting point for zeros as far as pricing. And then we have a translucent Dunner Zero. That's a Hypotrans Dunner Zero, which is going to make it a different price as well. Then this is another Hypo Zero. It's not a Dunner, but it has patching on the back. So that'll be a price variance. And then that one has patching on the back as well, but it has a bigger amount of patching. So that'll give it a different price range as well. Let me see if I can get this guy out. And this is a Hypo Zero as well. It's actually a Hypo Dunner Zero. So I got a couple Hypo Dunner Zeros. But I brought 2 of them that are pretty much the same genetically. So I can tell you that even these 2 being the same genetically may end up being a different price depending on how much they develop color. Like to me, even though these guys are the same, they're both Hypotrans genetic stripes that are 100% head zero. If I can get both of them at once. These guys gonna go through a lot of changes by the time they're being sold. So to put a price on anything right now would be nearly impossible. I can give you maybe a ballpark, but I even want to refrain from doing that. These are both Hypotrans genetic stripes, but the one on the right clearly has more color at this time. It almost looks like it's going to have orange stripes down on the side versus this one has white stripes. So those 2 things could make a difference in price as well. Say one of these didn't have solid black eyes and one did. That could even be a price difference between the 2. You can see there, this one, the one on the right overall has more color, but they're the same genetically, Hypotrans genetic stripes. But the one on the right just has more color, so that could be a difference depending on how they turn out. But they haven't even shed one time yet, so it's hard to say. This one might pop out of shed and be way better than that one. They might both shed out and then turn purple or something, be paradox. So it's hard to give an exact answer. And then some people just do a blank statement on how much are your bearded dragons. Something like this, maybe It's gonna be a whole lot less than something like this. These are like the opposite ends of the spectrum. This one has all the genes. This one right here is visibly all the genes that it can be from its parent. There's a hypo, it's a translucent, it's a dunner. Come on, camera. And it's a zero. So the breeding power on this one is gonna be a whole lot better than this one, as far as making more hits. But this one, it'd be powerful in a different way. You can make visuals with this one. You can make, it's gonna be 100% hit hypo, 100% hit zero. So it can make almost everything that one is, except it doesn't have the Dunner gene, and it doesn't have genetic stripe, which I think this one may be genetic stripe as well, because even though it's a patternless morph, you can kind of see the stripes on this guy. Let me see if I can get a good angle so you guys can see that, what I'm seeing. Let me see here. Come on. No, it's not really picking up on the camera, but in real life you can see like a little difference going, a difference in the scalation and the, it's almost like a color tone on each side of the spine going down the middle, which kind of looks like it's going to be genetic stripe as well, but I obviously can't sell it as genetic stripe because it's not visual, but most likely that one is going to be. Then we have translucent Dunner, which will be probably like 2 steps up from the normal looking one, because it has a Dunner gene, it's visual Dunner gene, visual Dunner gene, visual translucent. It's going to be 100% high hypo and 100% head zero. But yeah, I have a good amount of zeros. Most people looking for the pure white ones. I think this one's gonna be pure white, even though it has a little dark sides, but it's a Dunner as well. And then I can have another one that's Hypo Zero as well, and have solid black eyes. So that'd be another reason that the price can be different. As you can see on this one, the eyes are normal. But if I had the same one, but the eyes are black, that one will go for a little bit more because it's sought after, more sought after. Let's see if this Hypo has black eyes here. Can't really see. This eye is normal. And it looks like that eye is partially black, so that one eye might go all the way black. Might be normal too. Now you want to close his eye. He'll be alright. There you go. Yeah, both eyes are normal on that guy. But yeah, big variance in this whole clutch, so the price is going to be everywhere depending on breeding possibilities and the genetics behind it. But these guys are growing pretty well. I'm pretty excited. This guy is taking off. It's just a normal zero. That's 100% head hypo and 66% probable head trans. He's looking good. This might be the biggest one. This one is pretty big too. This Hypo Dunner Zero. This one eats very well, got a good big appetite. And you can almost see the stripe on the back on this one too. You see that? I think the genetic stripe changed the scales on the back as well. You can almost see the lines coming down the back. And I realized that when I get hypo, mainly the hypo zeros, if it has multiple genes in it, say like Dunner, genetic stripe, translucent, even a het, even if it's het, it start getting more of that patching on the back and on the tail. I think the zero gene is highly reactive to other mutations, like they're battling for real estate on the body or something. So that's why I believe that they're looking like that. We got one under here. Just the Hypo Zero. But yeah, so they'll be available mid-September. Price is going to be varied depending on sex, morph, the way that is displaying the morphs it is, and color when it comes to these ones. These two. The mother is from a white line, so I don't expect too much color from these guys, but I'm pretty sure those stripes on this guy is gonna pop, or this girl. I won't sex them till they're close to time to be sold, when they have more size on them. I can definitely sex at this age, but I just refuse not to. This one might be my favorite right here. And I said I wasn't gonna keep any. I might have to keep that one if it's a female. I kind of want to keep her so I can try to prove out that it's genetic stripe, like I did her father. Like, you can definitely see stripes on there. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Tune in tomorrow. I'm gonna be showing them all because I gotta clean their cages out, and also the Muromasics. I'm gonna clean their cage out as well, and I'm gonna show them all over. I'll probably do two videos tomorrow, a double upload, and let you guys see them and see their progress. If you look back on the past videos, you can see that these guys are growing pretty fast. Their appetites are really starting to kick in. I placed another food order and placed it for Saturday delivery, so I paid a little extra just so I can make sure that I always have food for these guys and that I keep the growth rate going. But you guys have a good one. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. Comment down below. Try to answer your question in the next video like I did for the people in this video. You guys have a good one. I'm out.